really tight match between both teams. Means a lot. EG's got to win 2 in a row if they want to force tiebreakers out. Beast Coast just need the 1 to secure their spot here in the major. So we'll see if they've got, we were looking at the draft earlier on. Mike, very surprised to see the Storm banned out. So, EG's forced to pick something else for Abed. It does look like we've got the Quap on hand. Should be exciting to see him on something else. Of course, you're not going to have that usual null build-up. So it's a change of pace for EG, Mike.
You never know, John. They might still go for the null talismans. They're pretty darn good right now. I think Arvid might pick up a couple still. Talk to me about the drafts. Like, do you feel like one team came out on top of the other here with these drafts?
I like the aggression from Beast Coast. They can just force these fights all the time. They can look to pressure early on. The side of EG do have really good fight on hand. They have Exorcism to play with. They've got Ravage to play with. But those are longer cooldowns. The uptime for Beast Coast aggression is much lower outside of Void. So if Beast Coast can maintain this really good tempo and keep fighting, it could be a bit hard for EG to start to build up, look for objectives, look for their own fights, considering that they've got to wait for some big spells here.
Oh, absolutely. We'll get into it very, very soon. Of course, we're probably going to have a look right into the mid lane. You're going to see Chris Luck there against Arbed, the Venomancer versing the Quap. A matchup you don't get to see there very, very often there, Jonathan. I mean, Venomancer, one of those more awkward kind of mid laners to pick up here against the Queen of Pain. I wonder how much influence it does have here against the Quap, because you're always going to have the ability to just kind of blink away if you do find yourself in trouble with perhaps a Gale and too much poison damage. What are you thinking? Does Arbed go for an earlier point in blink? Does he hold out a skill point? What's the idea here?
I think you hold out as long as possible. You see what the Venomancer goes for first. If he goes for the Gale, you go for the Blink. So far, Chris Luck has opted to go for the Poison Sting instead. So looking for the right-click trades. The Quap can still handle that in the early levels. Of course, Rune Control is going to be much easier for Abed as well. So maybe by level 3 is just much more comfy. Just leave Blink at level 1 and start really just farming through. Chris Luck can always fall back to the camps. That's the one shining thing about the Venomancer. If you do go for the Plague Ward build, you can just jump into the side camp, keep building up, heck, even hit up the triangle if you want to, and just kind of equalize that way. So there's not too much pressure in the Veno to dominate against a Quap. At the same time, you're much more focused on just meeting your own tempo there.
Oh, look at that, John. Top lane. Nightfall crit, of course, going to be against K1 and Stinger. So far, Nightfall, he's taken quite a substantial amount of damage on that Tide. Naturally, the Jakiro, one of the more lane-dominant kind of supports to have here, so Stinger, be able to get plenty of damage off with that Jewel Breath until you get a few more levels up on the Tide Hunter. Be a couple points in the Kraken Shore to make you feel a little bit safer. Do you think K1 just free farms this lane, Jonathan? Is there a way for EG to get aggressive?
They could try playing by the time they have some for control up. Once you have the Shackles up, once you've got maybe a value point in Gush with your Kraken Shell up, you could try to play, but having that window to kill off a Void is pretty tough. You're not the burstiest on the side of EG, and as we've been seeing, Stinger's just letting out all of the magic damage to the world to make it really uncomfy for Nightfall. He's not going to be able to sustain that too much, even with a Kraken Shell. Like, the magic damage is enough from Stinger to make it awkward.
Well, let's have a look maybe at that bot lane as well. The one lane we haven't checked out yet, of course, you're going to have Gojira there with Whisper. Naturally, of course, Arteezy on that Chaos Knight, and he'll be there with Jerax on the DP. The CK obviously a very, very powerful kind of pick right now. Very hard to lane against, even as the Mars, and you'll see Arteezy getting rather aggressive on that CK very soon, I'm sure. And of course, with the DP pos 5 to boot, it's kind of hard to see Beast Coast being able to find any sort of aggression, even with the Mars Rubik combo.
Yeah, it's a tough one. They're very sustain heavy on the side of EG, especially with that DP. CK is just really naturally tanky. We've seen a lot of Timps in that here just go slowly. So you're going to have to maybe just pace yourself there. We're still seeing the top sort of struggle as well with the back and forth. Abed, he is starting to feel that pain from the Venomancer, but he is still maintaining that network, at least the CS above, right? So you don't mind trading those resources away. As long as you can still keep farming without dying, you're pretty happy in the Veno lane.
He has spent a lot of gold on consumables, as you saw, John. Just 600 gold plus there for Abed. Not the greatest, but you do. It is a Venomancer. Chances are you are going to be spending a lot of gold just trying to keep yourself alive. Abed, as long as he doesn't die and continues getting those levels up, he should be able to find some rotations roughly at the 6-minute mark once you do find those first power runes, assuming he does manage to pick it up. You'll see Abed actually getting another salve as Jerax. Very nice small camp pull there, but well, there you go. More consumables being used up here by Abed. It's very hard, though. This is why you go the Venom mid in the first place. You are going to just force the enemy mid laner to either get back to the fountain or buy a hell of a lot of salves, as we are going to see First Blood coming out here. Arteezy able to pick it up against Gojira. Whisper unable to help him out, and that's a really fantastic start here for EG.
Yeah, it's a great way to get that CK going. you just have so much output. You're at level 4, level 2 Chaos Strike. Your right clicks hurt an insane amount, especially if you manage to get that Reality Rift off. It's as you said, Mike. Beast Coast can't really play that aggression with a Mars Rubik. They can't look for the lift into the spear. They can't just look for the kills, because these are two tanky heroes that are very hard to trade against for their own Mars on the offlane.
Well, we did see a bit of a rotation flying out here from Gojira as Abed does actually TP back to the T1 and still gets the water in away from Chris Luck. So he still manages to kind of get what he wants here and able to sustain himself against the duo here of Chris Luck and, of course, Gojira. Definitely great news here for Abed. And I wonder, as Chris Luck now, like in this mid-Veno, sure, you're still going to have impact later on. A hell of a lot of magic burst, or rather magical DPS to come out from the Venomancer, but you haven't had the dominant start you were looking for with this mid-pick.
No, it's certainly not. He is going for the Gale Poison Sting, so no value points in the wards. You are going to be looking to fight. You just need to hit that level 6 mark now on Chris.
Smile, or rather Chris Luck. He's sticking out. I think he should be okay. He's got 7 stick charges, but it is going to be a little bit close. But no, he'll be fine. With the Tango, he should be able to survive. Chris Luck, he'll get back to the fountain, but that's not really something you were hoping to see if you are Beast Coast.
And it just goes back to what we were saying. You know, you might be able to pressure Abed. He's still finding the farm down bot, though.
Yeah, very aggressive here. Onto the Mars they go. This time Crit, he'll take the kill on the Shaman, and that's no problem either. You are going to be looking for a quick blink or Aether Lens on Crit later on, so the bonus gold will help him out. Arteezy, he'll just be happy with the free safe lane.
You love to see that early rotation coming out from EG. One of the things you can do with those tanky offlaners. Now, Tide doesn't need the most babysitting. Nightfall did opt for Kraken Shell 2 points in, 0-2-2 build at level 4. So he's just going for durability and just being annoying up against the Void. And the Jakira's not really looking for much opportunity. Stinger just opting to play the pull game. So you can leave it solo and start being active. Crit just kind of causing havoc around the map now.
That's what you want to do. Even as the Shaman, just try to get as much kind of emphasis or impact as you can. Let's go Jira, he'll get a few stacks off. Top lane, a Nightfall kind of still being just chased down here by Stinger. But at this stage, you've got the level 2 Kraken Shell. You're not too concerned about the Jack anymore. The Nightfall, he can kind of just sustain himself on this Tide Hunter and keep that farm going. That does free up the lane there for Crit to just be able to kind of start rotating, as we are going to have some action down a bot lane. Crit, it's going to be just fine. Jerax actually behind the T1 tower, making it very hard for Whisper to be able to get that CS he wants. And when you look at Whisper right now, John, 18-3 in terms of CS. It's been a very tough lane for the Mars.
It's been slow going. That build-up into the Blink's going to be a lot slower. That means the angles for them to find aggression's not going to be there. Chris?
Yeah, Sonic Wave out. Crit, he'll come in. There's the Ether Shock, and they'll find the kill. Abed, he might be fine here. Yeah, he should be right. He won't tick out. Gojira tried to rotate to get that final right click in, but is unable to get within range, so Abed, he's going to be just fine to back out.
And we're seeing a big difference between the two teams right now, Mike. EG is the one taking, the aggressive position. They're the ones looking for the kills right now. They're the ones dragging their supports out first. And Beast Coast is trying to respond to that. They're not able to start these fights themselves. They're not able to play off the back of that Venomancer. Chris Luck already has the Poison Nova, did have to pop it in that last engage. And it's that long cooldown that we were talking about. I mean, they could be aggressive without it, without the Chrono and without the Gale, but you kind of want that magical DPS early. That's where the Venomancer shines. Without that huge AoE presence, it does feel like you're just going to be waiting on some of these CDs, and EG might be able to just run and gun as they have.
Oh, look at Beast Coast down at bot lane. 4 rotations coming out, but Arteezy, he reads the map movement, he'll back off at the exact right time, and he'll be just fine. Meanwhile, mid lane, Chris Luck, Arteezy, that's a very early rotation. Very unexpected from the Chaos Knight, but it should work out for him. That's a perfect rotation from Arteezy.
Gets that big kill. He knows he's strong. He knows he can burst some of these squishy heroes. Lots of squishy heroes on Beast Coast. The 2 supports, the mid Veno, very easy for you to burst them down, and it gives you a push opportunity onto the mid. You don't have Phantasm. You did manage to clear the top tier 1 here on EG's end. So if they start applying pressure on the mid, that's going to force Beast Coast again to look for the defense. And that might force an early movement out from K1 if he does manage to get the Chrono up, hit level 6. That could be the fight opportunity for Beast Coast. They've already got Arena ready on Whisper. They need to start finding these fights on their own terms. EG, they've got a lot of good vision.
Oh, Gojira.
Tier 1.
He's not safe, Abed. Will land the Shadow Strike, but they won't chase too far. They'll force the rotation out from Whisper. I love to see what EG's kind of doing here, John. They're just forcing rotations all across the map, not letting Beast Coast feel safe whatsoever. It's going to be wasting a lot of time here for the side of BC as, well, Evil Geniuses for now it does feel like they have more control over the map. You see how split up they are, just farming everywhere as Arteezy now going to try and get a little bit more aggressive onto K1. There shouldn't be any kill potential, but he's just trying to force him out of the bot lane unless, with a time walk, it is 5 seconds away, but you aren't going to have the hold there for Arteezy. Again, he just wants to make sure K1 cannot farm within his area.
And he's really stuck in a hard position on that Faceless Void now. Still needs that build-up for the Maelstrom. At that point, you can start farming faster, but you do start to kind of lag behind the CK in map efficiency. You just don't jump across as fast, even with the time walk. Clearing out the camps takes longer, and that just allows EG to just, again, keep building up. Beast Coast have to be able to play around their ults. They need to make use of that Gale. They need to make use of the arena. Still haven't seen that commitment out from Whisper, despite all those rotations.
Oh, Nightfall. He's going to come in, John. There's a Ravage available right now if he does want to pop it, but it does seem like he's going to hold out. Fair enough. Well, you might want to go for it just for an early pickoff, but they may also wait for Jerax to just hit level 6. Group up mid and go after the tier 1 tower. And with the Ravage available, you really just can't fight into it as Beast Coast.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Again, maybe if they had this blink up and Whisper, you could look for the angles better, but they lack that mobility. They lack that instant jump in. Whereas for EG, you could just run up with Abed, you could just run up with the DP, be confident that they don't die that quick. Arteezy's been showing his body for it a lot more in comparison to K1, and it just gives you way more angles, way more opportunities to take control. Beast Coast kind of forced to just keep farming around their own jungle. They did smoke up from the top lane here with Gojira and Whisper. Still no blink, but the arena has been waiting for a while here.
Well, you've got the lift set up. You just need to land a spear, and the arena, of course, will add that bonus damage. Who do they find, though? Nightfall, he's not the one you want. He's got the Kraken shell, so it's not going to last too long with the stuns out. Instead, they'll head down bot, but there's nobody there. EG, again, they're in the right position, prepping for the mid-tier 1 tower. They're not going to be around that bot side. It's Nightfall. He'll frontline. Jerax is almost level 6. Needs a couple more creeps, but in fact, John, they don't need it. They've got the siege creep available, and there's been no defense to come out. Beast Coast, they were busy smoking and trying to rotate, but they're going to find nothing, and they'll still lose their mid-tier 1 tower.
Yeah, it's a great take from EG. They just had these really good wards. There was a ward right by the outpost.
Oh, look at this.
That happens. So, yeah, straight Rosh. You've got Shaman. The wards still do a lot of damage to Roshan.
It's clinical here, John, from EG. So far, it's been a perfect start for him. 4-0, 11 minutes in, just no mistakes being made. EG really waking up on the right side of the bed today is Abed, mid lane. They see Chris Luck, big Ravage out, Nightfall. He's going to land on 3, and there's your Sonic Wave out. Chris Luck, he can't survive. Maybe you find Nightfall, but it's a great trade out for EG. They'll be happy with that.
And they find the kill. The good news for Beast Coast is they hold on to their mid-tier 1. It's within deny range if they want to take it out. And Gojira does steal Ravage. Not quite fast enough there from Nightfall to not give that away to the Rubik. So you do have a massive teamfight spell for Beast Coast to play with. Yeah, you're sacrificing your Venomancer. He is bottom net worth right now. And the key thing with Venom doesn't really hinge on itemization. It's really just about level spikes. So you don't really mind Venom dying too much. You are buying some much needed space for K1. He's keeping up in the void. The space being made by Beast Coast is utilized really well by their one big core that does need to farm.
Well, in that case, do you think it was more worth it for BC then? Just taking out the highest net worth hero on EG, which was the tide at the time, and you've got Ravage now. Perhaps BC's happy with that.
For sure. Like, they finally get the blink out on Whisper off the back of that kill. They've got way better angles to take now, not just relying on the Rubik to get the lift up. Again, they've got Ravage on hand to force a fight.
If they do, Arteezy bot lane gonna find K1. That's a huge pickoff. Crit with the lockdown, able to just keep the Void from time walking away on K1. You kind of talked about it, John. He is still a little bit behind Arteezy, and it's just not as easy as the Void to keep that farm going. He's had a very tough time, as meanwhile towards the North Stinger now, trying to protect his own triangle, is going to get caught out by Nightfall and Jerax. And chances are he's not getting out. He does get taken down. They do at least realize where the Observer Ward is in that triangle now, but Nightfall, he's going to have his way with it.
Yeah, just take over, take away that farm. Not the biggest stacks in the world. Large camp is built up, and Arteezy's taking that away. So that necessary farm for K1, he gets punished for being alone, and he loses out in the stacks as well. Again, this game has been dictated by EG because of the vision. They've just got such great aggressive...
K1, mid lane, he'll get a chrono off. It's only onto the +5 DP. Jerax, he's still not dying. He does eventually go for the siphons out, but K1, he'll get the job done. Whisper is there.
Oh.
Big Ravage out goes Jira with the stolen Ravage, going after Arteezy. He'll survive. Not for long though, he can't armlet toggle. He does end up dropping. Nightfall, Arbed still going. Big Sonic Wave out, but it's not a good team fight, EG. And now the stolen Sonic Wave. Gojira able to turn it once again. Jerax, he'll keep trying to fight forward. He might die back already. K1 will chase him down. Arbed will try to help him out. Jerax alive. There's your Ravage. Nightfall. He'll keep him alive, but Gojira, he should be all right. Arbed will move forward, but Whisper, that's a great spear back. He doesn't land the stun though. Arbed able to take another kill here as Jerax. He'll be the one to pick it up. EG, it looked like a rough team fight to start off. Gojira, he did his absolute best to turn that one around, Jonathan, but eventually EG do make it.
Yeah, I mean, the Chrono, not the ideal target to go on. You know, you want the DP gun, you don't have the damage output on the Void to really just burst her down in that window. They do manage to get the chain stunts afterwards, Arena into the Ravage, and they had the counterfight locked in. EG did lose Arteezy, but Abed with a turnaround, finding the angle in, not getting caught out by the Venom spells, just saving his HP for that big fight, managed to really give EG that little bit more from that exchange.
I'll tell you what, John, I love the way Gojira's playing. He's just finding all the right spells to steal. This time he's got the Spirit Siphons up there from Jerax, and that can certainly help you in a bit of a pickle. They will find Jerax on the DP. And that was actually a tieback, so he's gone for 40. Still a smoke out. Arteezy is going to be there with Crit, trying to find maybe just another place in the map to farm. But they are running towards Beast Coast right now. There's K1. He'll get started on the stacks. In the jungle, Arbed, he'll be around with the Queen of Pain, but not really showing up in that dire jungle yet. They may clash soon, though. K1, he'd love to go for that co-op, but Arbed, he's not going to make it easy. In fact, Hex out. They've locked down the Void, but do they have the damage output? Not quite yet. They'll settle for Gojira instead, but the Siphons are keeping him alive. He's still surviving, but eventually will drop. Arbed, he's able to take the kill. As BC, they aren't able to turn this one around.
I mean, you don't want to drag your Void in at the moment. Chrono's still down, damage output, durability of the Void's still very low. They do have the opportunity to play with that Blink on Whisper again. Arena is ready to go if they just want to make a commitment. Crit will cut that off. Drops the wards, forces a response, gets some good chip damage on the tier 2. And if you're BC right now, Mike, you can't afford to lose that tier 2. You know Roshan's going to be responding in around 3 to 5 minutes. The outpost is going to be key in that control. And Beast Coast cannot afford to give that Rosh number 2 away. That'll just open up way more objectives for EG to force this match out. They're reaching critical mass now on their Chaos Knight. Just the armlet up with a casual Ogre Axe. And this guy's just really tanky, and you don't have good ways of really killing off this.
Oh boy, Stinger. He TP's out at the right time. Whisper, that's a great blink away. They have the Ravage up on the Tide, so they want to try and force the fight here, EG. Instead, they'll just force in that top tier 2 tower. And you've got to appreciate the way EG's playing this game right now. They're just smothering the side of Beast Coast, who are just trying to catch up, trying to get that initial farm going for K1. It just feels like they're lacking some time right now and some space. So let the top tier 2 tower go. Beast Coast, all they can do is hit creeps at the moment. They can't force a fight.
Yep. They're just hugging that opposite side of the river, playing on the bot, playing towards mid, trying to apply some pressure on the tier 1 mid, which still stands on EG's end. They can get a pretty decent push out. Plague Wards are maxed out. You've got Jakiro, at least with a value point in Liquid Fire. Slowly but surely you can make inways on this map, but just considering, again, EG's vision game has been really good, Mike. Always with the forward wards, behind towers as well, just being aggressive off the back of that. Now they've got control of top jungle. Even if they lose mid now, they still have better Rosh control to force it when it does respawn soon.
That they do. Beast Coast, what's the idea here now, John? What do they do? And they're just taking their time. The K1 trying to go for that BKB up, and I'd say that's the safest bet right now to try and be able to survive the initial onslaught, the initial disable coming out from evil geniuses. Especially until you've got that BKB up, you just cannot feel confident to try and force the fight. Even with all those spells available, you get hexed once, maybe into a shackles. That's just it for you as the Void. So many stuns available here, and the silence from EG. K1, he's got to just try and get that BKB ASAP.
Needs that protection. Crit playing a bit forward, trying to scout out. They are cutting him off here on the side of Beast Coast, trying to pressure that tier 2. And they can make really slow chip damage happen. Liquid Fire only at level 1, but you don't really have Chris Luck there just yet. Is trying to still work mid. I mean, this is a slow process on the push. Right? They've been trying to take mid. They've been pressuring bot on Beast Coast for what? The past 2 minutes now, it feels like. At least a minute and a half.
Jerax can be chased down. K1, he'll pop the Chrono again. He just needs any kill he can get, but EG seeing that might feel like they can fight now. It's Nightfall mid lane. He's going to cop an Ice Path. Whisper, he'll show up. It's still a tide. They actually missed the spear out. It doesn't land on a tree, but they do force him back into the mid lane as Nightfall. He doesn't mind. In goes Arteezy. Stinger's already gone. A direct trade for support. Beast Coast, I'm not sure what the idea was there onto Nightfall. It's a Tide Hunter, John. You can't burst this man down.
He's way too tanky. I mean, just having that pipe of Inside Out cuts off a lot of the damage sources of Beast Coast. I mean, they've got the Veno draft. They want to be able to burst them down by magic. Forced to fortify now because the high ground's under threat. Arteezy just popping the Phantasm. Wards are dropped. Not going to get too much damage out, but Beast Coast have to watch themselves. No chrono for the defensive fight. Can be a bit awkward. Whisper still has Arena. It's going to be hard for EG to fully commit, but now Roshan's up. Outpost is still under EG's control. Look at the vision. Lots of good wards to watch that top jungle. They've got a clear shot to the next Rosh.
Oh, big smoke out here from Beast Coast, but you haven't got Chrono up. You're solely reliant on a nice Arena here from Whisper. See if they can find an angle for it. Keep in mind, the Ravage is available on Nightfall, so Gojira, he might be able to get a very nice steal here for his team. It's not as easy said as done. But if he can get that done, you've got a nice ulti to try and turn the team fight around with. For now, though, Roshan, or at least Crit, is going to be in the pit checking it out. Are they going to start it? They don't have the Shaman wards up. They're going to use the Exorcism instead. EG, so far, very fast-paced Dota, but it is certainly working out for them.
Yeah, they're finding the angles. They're the ones working the map. They've got the initiative here. Beast Coast, it feels like every single fight has been responsive outside of one or two opportunistic chronos coming out from K1. And they're low priority targets. You're killing off the DP. It's as you mentioned, Mike, you find any kill you can get. But because Chrono's still down, you can't check Roshan. Arena might be enough, but you're also fighting into Ravage. You're also fighting into Sonic Wave from EG Sen. So it's a massive risk, and they're forced to give it away. Not sure if they're even aware. They don't have the best vision right now on the side of Beast Coast. They're watching mid, and they're watching the bot tower. Nothing on their own side of the jungle, so they can't even get a read as to whether or not EG starts that Rosh.
Oh, now you've got the Aegis and Shards up. But he'll take the Shards himself. Aegis, of course, on Arteezy. Things get even more difficult now, and I suppose next time you've got Serpent Wards and Nexus them up, you might just be able to force in the top tier 3 tower as Whisper. Down a bot lane, has to be careful. Crit, he's looking to set up. He does have the blink available. Crit! Oh, he's stuck! The creep wave, they block him off. Now Abed, he blinks the wrong way. Nightfall, he's not going to pop the Ravage. Oh, the creep wave. Well, at least they know what team they're on, John.
It happens. Sometimes they help out. Crit misses out on that opportunity. A little bit of wasted time from EG. Great little small play from Whisper.
How does this happen? Crit? Look at this. What's this creep wave doing? It's a perfect block. Who's microing those creeps?
Just getting stuck is a tradition here, Mike. I say, we'll force
mid lane, Nightfall looking for a Ravage. Gojira looking for the steal, will lift them away. Ravage does connect Gojira. He's in trouble. He'll get bursted down first. Abed looking for Stinger, does end up getting the poison Stinger. Stinger is going to try for a TP out and might just make it. They can't see him in the tree line. So it's only going to be a one support kill here for EG, but they can certainly go for the tier 2 mid tower quite easily now, and that's exactly what they'll do.
Just drop the wards, get the commitment out, start to open up the opportunity to take 2 racks onto the high ground while Aegis still stands here on Arteezy. Not going to force the issue yet, you know, pushing without the wards up is going to be a slower process. EG can now just focus on really shutting down the map. You know, take the triangle, control the top jungle as well. They still have these really good wards up.
Arteezy. This is a big kill if they could find it, John. East Coast. Not able to find the lockdown yet. Arteezy, he's going to be fine. He just backs himself out. Beast Coast, they just can't catch a break, John. They can't find the angle. Maybe now. Arteezy, he's the one to jump in. That's a very aggressive jump in. Whisper, nice spear out in the arena. Arteezy in big trouble, but he does have the Aegis. Meanwhile, Crit, he does go down to the Shaman as Arteezy. He'll keep manning up. Abed, he'll make the jump in, but the Chrono is there from K1 into the Macro Pyre. Maybe they've got the damage. Abed needs to blink out. He's stunned up. There's your illusions out, but no, the bash comes out. K1, he gets lucky. He'll be alright as Abed does drop at Beast Coast. They're still in big trouble. It's a 3v2 situation. As Gojira and K1, they're going to try and back out, and they might just make it. And will. It's still a bit of a win there for EG. And Abed, you saw the bashes, John. Very unlucky for Abed, but very lucky for K1.
Very lucky. That's something Beast Coast needed. It's still not a very good fight for Beast Coast. It does prevent that further aggression on the objectives. They might still lose their tier 1, maybe their tier 2. High ground gets a little bit tougher without that Quap. No Ravage up left on EG, and you can just see how that fight started. Just really aggressive from Arteezy. Does get punished, and just great counterplay from both sides.
There was a big sonic wave there from Arbed right through the middle, connecting on 4 heroes, and as you see, Arbed, when he picks off the Mars, Whisper is going to drop thanks to the Nightfall, and K1 trying to get it done. Now look at this, Jonathan. Look at these bashes. Slow-mo. Arbed, he'll go for the illusions. Arbed, blink away. No, you're not getting away, Arbed. That's when you've got an enemy void against you, John. That's what happens every time. My void, no bashes.
Absolutely, 100% on the enemy side. Arbed. It's like, yeah, all right, whatever. It happens. And, I mean, he was even walking away, and it's one of those things where it's the orb walk attack on melee. Still, EG's still in a really good spot despite that exchange, right? Beast Coast gets a little bit of injection there. Again, EG's kind of held off from going onto the tier 2, going onto the high ground. Aegis being down means it's a much riskier proposal for them to get in there, but their cooldowns are coming up. Ravage is ready to go once more, Sonic Wave in a few seconds, and you still have half a minute where Chrono is down.
Well, Jeract, he's going to get caught out. He's still a bit of a tanky position 5. He might be able to go for the Siphons out. In fact, he's surviving. In the meantime, K1's gone. Oh, K1 gets dropped here. Crit finds him out in Arbed. Nightfall, they'll move in. They've got the Ravage. Whisper, he's going to try and fight back with the BKB arena down. Chris Luck still trying, but the Phantasm Illusion's doing way too much damage. They've got to get to the high ground, and they will make it as Arteezy still being chased, but Nightfall, he's got the Ravage looking to pop up and Gojira lifts him up, trying to get away. Nightfall still not popping the Ravage as Arteezy. He's actually going to survive. He just pops the BKB and armlet toggles, and he'll be just fine.
Yeah, that's I'm not sure if it's good for Arteezy. He wanted to TP home, save that BKB charge, was caught in the Ice Bat. They still find kills for that exchange, and they hold on to their big ult. So EG could still have that opportunity on the high ground. All outer towers taken away now from the side of Beast Coast. Could just opt to wait for the next Roshan, though. We are only about 3 minutes away until that timer is back up. Ag's already up in Nightfall. And this is the point where Beast Coast draft, it starts to feel hard to scale up. You know, your Venomancer has a huge platoon in front of it.
Caught out, crit, for a Hex, K1, bash, there it is. You just gotta scream it louder sometimes, Sean. The louder you scream bash, the more chance it comes out.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing when you're playing anything with crit, right? You play the CK, you just ask for the crit, you yell loud enough, it comes on. Of course, crit did die there.
True.
You don't yell crit in that situation. Still
very funny, John.
I try, Mike. They are going for that smoke play, looking to be aggressive, going forward. Still don't have the best wards, but this time around they dropped the triangle ward on EG's end. EG hasn't been there too often now, so that whether or not that's going to be huge value, perhaps not as much as they'd expect, it at least allows them to retake the top jungle and start to position for next Roche. 2 minutes away, you're going to have Chrono up, unless K1 uses it for an opportunistic kill. EG, they've been waiting. They haven't started the high ground. They've poked once. They've played a little bit safe since then. So they would want that Roshan, and I think Beast Coast have set themselves up, again, just to have a better angle to contest that.
You might just wait for the next Roshan now, but Beast Coast, they're going to have to be the ones to make sure to try and contest that next Roshan. You can have the Eggs blessing up, third Roshan of the game, maybe even a refresher shot. You really can't afford to give another Aegis away to EG here in this game number 1 if you are Beast Coast. Because EG, again, they've got to win every game here in this series to have a chance of continuing through to the playoffs. So they are trying their absolute best to put a lid on this game ASAP. Is EG, they're going to smoke up. 3 through the mid lane. Nightfall, he'll frontline for the team. Where are they headed, though? Nobody in Beast Coast are on the dire jungle. In fact, they're coming. They are making their way over, but this could be terrible timing. They'll break the smoke of Nightfall. Meanwhile, a Sonic Wave Arbed just clearing out the creep wave, I believe.
He tried to go for the kill on Stinger.
Right.
Didn't quite have enough damage. TP was in time. Here's the tip out for the timing. But just being a bit gun-shy and using that ult does, well, you know, he's got to wait like a minute 40 now to have that up.
Can they capitalize, John? You know the Sonic Wave's down. Maybe you can make something happen.
It's a perfect time to force a fight. We're going to see that Roshan timer soon. If it's a quick one, Beast Coast finds a big kill, they could potentially take that Roche for themselves. As you mentioned, they do not want to give that away to EG, and this could be their opportunity.
They're not trying yet. Beast Coast still very, very defensive kind of play, and you can't blame them. They are 12k behind at the moment. Just got to continue holding that high ground, pushing out waves and buying more time for K1, who is currently second in net worth. done a great job catching up this game. More defensive items on the way here for the Void as well, Jonathan. He'll go for the Lincoln Sphere straight after. And it just seems to be all about being able to get the Chrono off and being able to survive throughout the team fights. He just needs to be able to live long enough to get the damage output.
Yeah, I think they understand that they do have a lot of AoE follow-up with Venomancer, with even the Jakiro on hand, and Mars just kind of use the Chrono to wait for BKBs to fade and then get the punishment off after. E.g., they went for a smoke that was scouted out by the new wards Beast Coast dropped, so again, they just managed to position themselves away from any aggression. Roshan, minute and a half away now until the respawn, and now Beast Coast can go for their own angles.
Yeah, they're going to try 4-man smoke. K1, he'll bait in the mid lane. Jerax is looking him down. Nightfall will show his position, but they don't want the Tide. It's the last target they want to try and go after. They'll wrap around through the triangle, try to head down towards the Radiant jungle on the bottom side of the map, but nobody's going to be there from EG. They're all hanging around the mid lane at the moment. Just waiting very patiently, understanding Beast Coast is probably smoked up. And they've read the movement very, very well here, EG. Beast Coast, when they've repositioned, it is going to allow them to get a bit more farm, but eventually they are going to have to head back up top and defend.
Yeah, they've got to prevent that slow shove-in from the side of EG, and if EG manages to see enough heroes, again, it could just be them to go for Roshan. It's a bit of a stalemate over that objective. Both sides kind of trying to posture around. EG getting a good read. They didn't have a smoke to see. I mean, they didn't have a ward to see that smoke, but they get a good read as to why Beast Coast is not shoving out the waves a while ago, and they just hold the top jungle, keep farming, 20 seconds away. And this is the moment for Beast Coast. They've got to find something before Roche, or find a really good angle for a Chrono in the pit to really get that fight going their way.
Okay, one mid lane, he's basically begging them to jump him. He is absolutely begging them, please, jump me. They aren't doing it. EG, they know it's all bait. Roshan, it is up now. Here we go. They've got to defend top lane here, Beast Coast. They can't really afford to rush the Roshan pit. With that, EG, they may do it. They may go right to Roshan as Beast Coast. They are hanging around, trying to prep for a team fight. Crit, he'll see the Roshan. He's got the Serp wards at level 2. It's going to be a quick Roshan to go down, and Beast Coast, they really cannot afford to let this go. They've got to fight this one. It's got the Axe Blessing up as well, Jonathan. It's not going to be very fun playing against the Aegis Cheese and Axe Blessing on one of these heroes, but they're going to get it for free. Beast Coast, they're not in position.
No, they miss out. They don't get a good read. Their wards don't fully see the pit. So now they're going to be forced to play defensive. Their high ground hold is pretty good, Mike. Jakiro faces Void. Venomancer, even the Mars is really good in that high ground defense fight. So they're not out of it yet. They can just keep holding, look for that opportunity. EG have way more chances, though. They're much safer in their position with that Aegis. They've got the Ags upgrade now on Abed. More damage, lower cooldown on the Sonic Waves. He can just keep spamming it out as he wishes. And for Beast Coast, their scaling's all in on that Void. They're building up towards that Ags and Chryslux, so trying to go for more output on the Venomancer could be one way in these much more prolonged fights, especially as the BKBs start to wind down. But it just feels like this passive playstyle, it'll take a long time before it feels like they can take initiative. No, they're just not crossing the river anymore. They're not able to make in-ways on the objectives. EG's just cutting them off at every single angle and just preventing any progress on the map here.
Things only get worse now, John Abed. He's got the Refresher Orb up on the Queen of Pain. It's a 40-second Sonic Wave with the Ags up, so much damage. Essentially being able to pump out 1,400 pure damage with the Sonic Wave with the Refresher Orb. That's not going to be a very fun experience. Make matters worse, John Abed, he sees the double damage. He'll leave the bottle for Arteezy. No, never mind, he'll take it himself. He's the carry of this game.
Yeah, he's been dancing around in that quap. And to be fair, Arteezy's been showing a lot to these early fights, right? He was showing up on mid, he's ready to go, he's reached the critical point of that CK, AC up along with the BKB and the Armlet, just really maybe needs the heart to finish up that CK build. And for Beast Coast, it's just damage issues. Like, you talked about that Void build up a while ago, K1, all defensive outside of Maelstrom. Now, how are you going to kill off this CK with your magic damage? Until the Ags comes out from Chrysluk, it just doesn't feel like it's enough output.
We'll have an answer to your question very soon, John. They are pushing tier 3 towers once again here, EG. Going to try and force the defense from Beast Coast, but they certainly want to force the fight as well. I don't see them backing off this time around. Zarteezy be on the front lines. Nightfall, he'll be right behind him. Whisper, nice spear back into the racks. K1 might be able to find the first life here on Arteezy as he does get taken down. You've got to find the jump in. In we go, but where are we going? Chrono out, Crit, he's in trouble. Meanwhile, Arbet takes care of Gojira. Arteezy is locked down. Where's the Ravage? It does come out, but it's only a one hero. It connects from the Jack, but that's all about it. Arbet, he's going to blink out of there. He'll refresh for it. As Beast Coast, their patience may have paid off. They'll keep going. Nightfall in big trouble. He has the Glimmer Cape, but it doesn't matter. Onto the low ground he goes, but they've got the control. EG, they've gone too far. They did not have a good Ravage angle. They did not wait out the BKBs, and Arteezy getting speed back into the racks like that, John, it really cost them.
Yeah, that's a toughie. Whisper finds a really good angle to open up that fight for the side of Beast Coast. And not just that, the target prioritization coming out on that Chrono. They pop it just to catch Crit. They remove that control. They had the cleanup to deal with Arteezy and just chain stun him. He never managed to even get his BKB off. He just respawned, died again. And now Beast Coast can make that progress on the map. They still have that damage output if they manage to stagger out the fight. EG, maybe getting a bit too gun happy. You know, jumping in with a BKB there on Crit, not getting the opportunity to lock down that Void. Very good patience out from K1 to pop his own BKB at the right time. And EG, they're still in a bit of a good spot. You know, they've got the net worth lead, they've got map control, but they're starting to drop some objectives. Onto the tier 2s, Beast Coast don't have enough time to fully commit for tier 2, so EG still has a good, decent amount of control on their own jungle. But you are starting to see that control issue. I mean, at the end of the day, even if you don't have the most damage on K1, you don't have counterplay for Chrono. Right? You don't have Swamp, you don't have something like an Oracle on hand. You maybe could build up for a Disarm, but the BKB is always going to be there for K1.
Oh, bashes out, forcing the BKB. K1, he does not have Chrono. Arbet, he'll be able to blink out. Really had to pop the BKB to avoid the Ice Path flying in from Stinger. Otherwise, that may have been enough lockdown for K1 to get the job done. Speaking of K1, John, he is going to be going for a Refresher Orb of his own now. That could be the way to do it. To have that double Chrono available could be a very painful experience here for EG to have to try and deal with.
Yeah, if EG aren't the ones forcing these fights, then Chrono's always going to ruin them, right? Like, again, no counterplay for Chrono. Best thing they've got is maybe Crit getting good Hex before the BKB flies on K1, but he's always going to be popping it when he does get Chrono. He understands his job here on the Faceless Void is to just enable the setup for the rest of the team to follow up, to get the magic damage off, to use that Chrono before BKBs are up. That way, Veno, Jakiro, they're all still really effective with the output. It's still a lot of damage, despite the Glimmer Capes, despite the pipes. You can melt through that really easy.
Oh, Crit, bot lane, he might be looking to set up. Seen this before, Jonathan. Crit, not going to be able to find anyone. K1 does back off at the right moment. In fact, does he? In he goes again. K1, be careful. We're going to have a quick pause out here from Chris Clark, because there's a bit of a misclick, apparently. Never mind. Be unpausing very soon. K1, is he going to go for the tier 2 tower? Because Crit, he's ready. Put the Blink Hex in and Arteezy will join. K1, no, he does rewind. Arteezy's there. They'll break the Linkers out. Arena trying to protect K1. He's locked down. It's a big stun out and now the Ravage. K1, he's got no buyback. Oh, and the immediate smoke from EG, they know about it. You see that phrase from K1, John, he's not happy.
Yeah, it's not a great time. He bought out. He upgraded it. They need that Chrono. High ground defense can still happen. Arena's on cooldown for a minute. You have a massive opening here on EG. No Ravage, no Exo. But just with a CK and maybe the wards out from Crit, you've still got loads of damage onto those.
Bed right in. Sonic Wave out. Whisper's gone. Immediate buyback there from the Mars. They need everything they can get. They're going to be without the Void for another minute. It's a very rough situation for Beast Coast now. The Evil Genius is trying to move in for that first lane of Barracks. Nightfall, he doesn't have Ravage for this, but you don't really need it while the Void's down. You should have enough time to take this top racks. As Beast Coast, they're going to try their absolute best to find a way to defend this. It's hard to see them doing so. They might just have to accept that one lane of Barracks is going down. I don't believe there'll be time for two, though. The Void should be up just in the nick of time to be able to force a fight. We'll see what EG does.
Looks like they might just play it safe. Roche respawn is fairly short away until we see the timer. So there's another opportunity to just make it a safe high ground push. No need to take massive risks on EG to respecting the Beast Coast defense. Void is going to be back up. K1 respawn not too far off, along with a Chrono ready. So they kind of cut their losses on Beast Coast. Could have been a lot worse. Could have been an opportunity to maybe chip away at mid. EG decides to play it safe. They still have that vision. They still have the outpost on top jungle. So EG should still make a pretty good run onto the Roshan. And again, Beast Coast, we haven't seen them playing that Rosh at all. They need to be able to maybe force those fights outside because they get some good results if they do manage to catch a couple of good chronos there.
Absolutely. You've certainly got the team fight in that Roshan pit, and now, well, Beast Coast, they want to get going. Smoke out is 5. They do only have 1 chrono, but that should be enough. They've just got to find a decent initiation. Keep in mind, Abed, he did just pick up that Scythe of Vice. That could work very well against the Void if you can break the Lincolns and just get it before the BKB pops out. EG, the wait on the high ground of the triangle. Nightfall, he'll be around to try and break the smoke and just check out the Roshan pit. Roshan's still about a minute 30 away from respawning. And Beast Coast, well, they're not going to force the fight, but they are going to take the high ground of that dire jungle as EG now. They'll 5-man smoke up. But can they get to the high ground?
Like they're taking a long way around, looking for a bit of a flank. Beast Coast don't really have vision in that area as well if the smoke breaks, so could be a good opportunity for EG if they do get their way going. Could also be sneaky and just try to snipe a set of racks here.
Oh, there's a courier. K1? K1's courier's just there. In we go. Crit, he'll drop the Serpent Wards and force the defense again. It's a smart play from EG because they might just back off right into the Roshan pit, and you're not going to be in position for Beast Coast to be able to try and fight it in time.
Yeah, and they all TP home. That's a massive commitment out.
Oh, K1. Whoopsie. Just making sure it works, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, that doesn't look like he was making sure to make it work. That's it's tough, you know. That makes the defense that much tougher here for Beast Coast.
Yeah, it does. K1, Chrono is there. Abed, he'll be caught out. Oh, he gets into the blink with the Chrono on the tie, but they don't have the damage. Abed, he's fine now. The Ravage comes out. Nightfall, he'll set up. Arteezy, he's found Stinger. K1, he'll go down to Abed. It's not looking good for Beast Coast. EG, they may have done it for game 1. There's 3 heroes down without buyback. Surely there's no way to defend this for Beast Coast.
It doesn't feel like it.
Abed goes right inside the Vice out. They've got Whisper with the dieback. That's it. GG's called. In EG, they are still alive.
That's just madness. You know, like small mistakes coming out here and there from Beast Coast. EG, they play a really clean game.